What's up? Welcome to another episode of Dev Talks with host Travian. We talk about everything engineering technology wise. In this episode, this video, we're talking about Apple. They just had an event always around Halloween or so. They have an Apple event. They should show more information and stuff. So, hey, we got some information. I haven't watched this video, some new stuff to learn about. So, without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It really helps out so much. And let's dive into this video.
In a fairly uncommon move, Apple released a few new products this week without holding a dedicated big splashy event. We got 5 new Macs powered by the M4 chips, and I had a chance to look at all of them. Also, it is fair to say that the most hyped product this year would be the Mac Mini, so let's just start there. This Mac Mini is tiny, at 5 inches wide and 5 inches long and 2 inches tall. It looks less like a smaller version of the 14-year-old Mac Mini and more like a smaller Mac Studio. And it makes sense for it to be so tiny. Once the M chips made their way to the Mac Mini, it was obvious how much unused space there was. The M4 Mac Mini is also maybe a bit heavier than I expected, but I wouldn't call it heavy. Far from it. Some Verge staffers were worried if unplugging and plugging the cables would actually move the Mac Mini around. While I wasn't able to just plug in stuff, I did kind of nudge it around, and yeah, it'll definitely slide around a bit, unless you pin it down. But there are also changes to the I/O here as well. 2 USB-C ports and a 3.5 audio jack.
I just want to make one comment real quick on what he said about it being heavy, and one is a lot more compact and dense compared to the other one that they have there. But the point of this all is, how can we save space? There was a lot of unused space in the other product. How can we bring this together, save space, make it more convenient, usable, not take up so much room on your desk area? Because, hey, these save a lot of space for these desktops that the Apple monitors use and all of that. So how are you able to save more? I really like that style of and way of thinking of doing that. That's a big plus in my book. I just wanted to make a quick note about that real quick.
Jack on the front. On the back, there is an Ethernet port, full-size HDMI port, and 3 Thunderbolt ports, which means there are no more USB-A ports. But I think 5 USB-C ports is a good trade-off. But also, not all these ports are the same. The front ports are 10 gigabit per second USB-C, and the back 3 are Thunderbolt. The regular M4 configuration gives you Thunderbolt 4, and the more powerful M4 Pro chips comes with Thunderbolt 5, which is 3 times faster. And although it never had it before, I still wish they put an SD card slot on there as well. It feels like every Apple product redesign comes with some sort of a controversy, and this year that is the power button, which is on the underside in the far left corner of the Mac Mini. Can I just say, it is fine. As someone who spends a lot of time sitting in front of a desktop computer, I rarely ever have to turn it on or off using the physical button. But is it awkward to reach? Definitely. You'll need to lift it up a bit. Inside of the base $599 M4 model, you will find 16 gigabytes of RAM, which is the new default and seemingly a requirement to run Apple Intelligence. There's 10-core GPU, 10-core CPU, and 16-core neural engine. The base model comes with 256 gigs of SSD storage, which is just not enough in my opinion, and I'd strongly recommend you to upgrade. But those upgrades can be extremely expensive. 1 terabyte is extra $400, while 2 terabyte is extra $800.
Gosh, dang. That's one of the things about this stuff. Like the minis and whatever, like those big Mac like desktop things that they have, those towers, those are expensive out of their mind. One thing about Apple, they know how to overcharge on stuff for sure. Like 1 terabyte of storage, $400 to $800. It's pretty much $200 every 512 gigabytes. This is insane. And you're going to need it. That's the crazy part about it. Like, and that's just on storage too. You even look at the memory store stuff. 32 gigabytes of memory, $400 over here. And the starting price is about $600. So this can really add up really quickly. Not even to play around. That's $600 at the typical 256 gigabytes, which is not nowhere near enough. If you're using this as your main computer, you do a lot of business stuff, a lot of work things, this is nowhere near enough. I need to actually compare this to what the MacBooks hold, because I do a lot of work on the MacBooks themselves too, and I feel like the MacBooks may be enough, but this is not. So actually, I'm gonna look up the MacBook thing real quick while we're playing this video.
The Mac Mini with the M4 Pro starts at a much steeper $1,399 price tag with 12 cores of CPU, 16 cores of GPU, and 512 gigabytes of storage. The M4 Pro version is upgradable to 64 gigs of RAM for extra $600, and if you want to go all out on storage, 8 terabytes will be an additional $2,400. Just wild. Anyhow, this is a desktop, so external storage like RAID drives or just extra SSDs is always an option. Next up, MacBook Pros. The new M4 MacBook Pros are also here. They look exactly the same except for the new display option and the fact that the entry-level 14-inch MacBook Pro now comes with an additional Thunderbolt port. That model gets the M4 processor. The more expensive 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros come with either the M4 Pro chip, like the Mac Mini, or the M4 Max. The M4 Max chip promises some impressive performances, and in my demo where we're looking at 3D models of a car, which was loading seamlessly. I was able to move it around, change colors in an instant, but I do have to admit that I have no idea what kind of performance I'm supposed to expect here when it comes to 3D models. I'm more familiar with the video editing benchmarks, and for that, we'll need to wait to review these laptops ourselves. We also looked at the video game Control. The game ran smoothly and it looked great. Even though Macs were never considered serious gaming machines, ever since the M chips came out, they should be taken more seriously. And next year they'll run Cyberpunk, one of the more demanding games. I'm excited to try that one out finally.
So I'm actually looking at some of this Mac stuff right now for the M4 laptops. I mean, the M4 laptops do cost a lot more, obviously, here than the Mini does. The M4 Mini does right there. So I guess it makes some sense. But like the base 10 core GPU M4 Mac 14-inch, that's at $1,600, and 1 terabyte goes to 1,800, and then it goes to $2,000, but that's only because the memory increases. And that's the standard M4 prices for the lowest model regarding that. Well, because if you also look at these minis, you do need to buy a display. I don't know if you can use them with Macs. There's no other reason to use them with Macs, I believe, at all. So that's actually a pointless take. But yeah, there you go. So if we go back to that pricing chart, $600, and basically, yeah, he showed the Pro version. But if we go to the Mini version, $600 plus $200, that's $800 just to get to the storage bit that these laptops have. And then for memory, you would need 24 gigabyte memory that's another $200. So yeah, it's $1,000 to equal. Here, let me just bring this on the screen here so you guys can see this stuff as well. So as you can see here, 24 gigabytes, 512 gigabytes SD storage, 16-inch. The 16-inch only comes in the Pros, but so if we go to the 14-inch monitor, $1,600 for 16 and 512, and for they don't have a 24 until you get to the 1 terabyte. But so like let's compare the 1 terabyte then. So you have a $2,000 laptop here, right? You have a $2,000 laptop here. You go back to these mini prices, start at 600, go to a terabyte. That's $1,000 right there. That's $1,200, and now you need $600 for a monitor display. I mean, take that how you guys want to take it, but it adds up. Like, if that equals it out for you guys, then that's fine by me, fine by you guys. But I just like comparing stuff like that, especially when we get these pricings and all these breakdowns of all this different stuff. So it's good to know. Uh, and the standard version is what, 10, 16? Yeah, so standard version is $800. If we go back to, if I can go back to that Apple thing, standard version of the mini is 16 gigabytes, so you just need to add an extra 200 for the gigabyte storage here, which would bring it to $800. That's half the price of this. You still got to think about the monitor stuff, but hey, it has Apple this is what's compatible with Apple Intelligence now, so hey, we see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But back to the video.
Though Macs were never considered serious gaming machines, ever since the M chips came out, they should be taken more seriously. And next year they'll run Cyberpunk, one of the more demanding games. I'm excited to try that one out finally. All of the new MacBook Pro laptops can now be configured with the nano texture display, which also promises color better suited for creative professionals. I own an iPad with a nano texture glass and I love it dearly, but I do have to admit that this glass makes a lot more sense on a screen where I won't be leaving my fingerprints on. Lastly, there's the new updated iMac. The new all-in-one desktops come in a new and more saturated colors, which look absolutely fantastic in real life. In fact, you might have noticed I was a little bit thin on B-roll for the previous two products. I'm sorry. That's because these iMacs were so much fun to film. Anyways, the iMac still comes only in one size, which is 24 inches, which is slightly disappointing. Nevertheless, the 24-inch Retina display looked good in my brief demo, and it is a fine display, but I do wish its peak brightness was higher than 500 nits. The webcam is also updated and now supports center stage and desk view, both on the iMac and the MacBook Pro. Center stage means it will track you around when you're walking around. In desk view, the webcam crops down to the...
That is a dope ass feature. The center stage thing, as you walk around, it keeps you centered. Oh my gosh. I've been seeing a lot of like the AI clips for some of these stuff that I use for shorts. Do try to do that, and it doesn't do a great job, but based on what that just showed, that's an amazing feature right there. It's amazing, especially for those calls. I wish all of our devices did it. Like, we have these cameras, why can't they just move slightly to kind of trace and configure themselves to stay on the actual object of focus or target focus?
Very bottom of its field of view. It corrects the distortion and shows your desk to whoever you're talking to. In this dim room, the footage did look very grainy and the overall surface was a bit small. But unlike before, this is now built into the webcam, so you won't need your iPhone to pull this off. All of these come with the standard M4 chip. No Pro or Max options here, but there are two variants. One, M4, comes with 8 cores of CPU and GPU, and the other is 10. The one with 10 can be upgraded to 32 gigs of RAM, while the 8 core is capped at 24. Also, that same 8 core of RAM, while the 8 core is capped at 24. Also, that same 8-core iMac oddly doesn't come with a Magic Keyboard with a Touch ID. You get the Magic Keyboard without Touch ID. But both the keyboard and the Magic Mouse are color coordinated, and yeah, they have USB-C ports, and yeah, the port is still underneath the Magic Mouse, and yeah, this means that the only product left using Lightning that you can buy from Apple is the first-gen Apple Pencil. There are also some dongles and stuff, but you get the point. So there you have it. M4 Macs are here and they're super fun to look at and to use, but stay tuned for our full review. Parting thoughts? The one with...
So lastly, real quick here, we just talked about the comparisons between is it better to get a laptop or get one of these iMac monitor configurations. We just showed the cheapest version of the mini had about what was it, where were we at, $1,800, about $800 for getting the extra get up to the storage of 512 gigabytes and still keeping the 16 gigabytes memory. Now you have the monitors that you need that go with these minis, $1,200 on their own. Is it really that much worth it? For anybody who uses these Mac Minis and these MacBook Pros and iMacs and all of that stuff, please let me know if it's worth it, because I've only used MacBooks and the iPads and the iPhones and a little bit of a watch. I haven't used a watch in so long, and I have a very first generation AirPod. So please let me know if it's really worth it to go out there and get one of these big displays like that, because you can just buy you can build a laptop for cheaper than that to the capabilities that you need, or you can just get a laptop that's decent enough. Like, here's one of my MacBooks actually. I was gonna check. I do a lot of coding and stuff on here. I do a lot of different types of work on here. That's also helpful for when I don't want to be at my setup or if I'm traveling a lot. It's helpful to have a laptop always, but a display like this, like I built my own PC. I have built my own monitors and all of that. So how really worth it is it? Who knows? But without further ado, hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps out a lot. Road to 500. And see you guys next time. Peace.